In our last video entitled Best Habit Tracking Apps for 2024, link in the description and at the end of this video, I covered what I deem to be the two best habit apps on the market right now, namely Daystamp and Habit Tracker. I flew through each of these rather quickly and mentioned a few other great options, including ARTLIST and Awesome Habits, coming very soon to Setapp. In the near future, I will be doing in-depth reviews of both of those, as well as for Habit Tracker. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed to check those out when they're ready. But in today's video, it's all about Daystamp, which, truth be told, is what I started using to track my habits as of January 1st, 2024. In my opinion, it's currently the best habit tracking experience on the market. And today I'm going to walk you through everything there is to know about this app, both the good and the bad. Although honestly, it's pretty much all good.
I mean, really good.
As for the bad, well, it's lacking a couple key features, namely iCloud Sync, meaning if you are using it on your iPhone, but then installed on your iPad, unfortunately, your habits and data will not carry over there. So basically, as of right now, if you're going to use Daystamp, you're pretty much only going to use it on one device, most likely your iPhone. But great news. I've exchanged a few emails with the development team, and they've informed me that they're planning on implementing iCloud Sync and the ability to create start and end dates for individual habits. Honestly, those were pretty much the only shortcomings for this app, and to know that both of those things will be resolved soon-ish, well, very promising for the future of Daystamp. Now, they only said that's in the works for this year.
When will then be now?
So whether that happens in February or maybe September, I'm not sure. But you know, the good news is it's in the works. Oh, and before we dive in here, just so you know, this video is not sponsored. So it's just purely my own opinions, and my love for this app is 100% pure.
100% pure.
So yeah, if you're interested in evaluating Daystamp to become your habits app of choice for 2024 and beyond, well, let's get into it. This is an app where, frankly, it really surprised me because, like I said, there's so many apps that are out there on the market and it all starts to feel like a blur, you know, like they're just all kind of doing the same thing. They have their pros, they have their cons. Some of them just annoy me in this way. Other ones annoy me in that way. This one does something well. This one doesn't. Like, surprisingly, this app stood out to me. And I really, the more I started using it, the more I started exploring the different aspects and features, the more I came to really appreciate the level of thought that the designer has put into it. And that's what I want to showcase today as we go through this. So let's start out with, of course, number one, the onboarding experience. And you're looking at the start page. So there's not a whole lot there in terms of like them reaching out to you and holding your hand and walking you through all this stuff, which honestly, as we'll get to some of these apps I'm going to touch on later, those really annoy me when they just really make it this long onboarding process. Not to mention where you have to create an account, you have to put an email address, you have to put credit card info, you have to purchase something before you even know if you like it. Like, all of those things to me are a real turnoff with the onboarding process, with getting started, right? So I appreciate it with apps like Daystamp, where you just install it, you open it up, you see the interface, you quickly get a sense of like, okay, all right, this is the experience. This is the app that I'm going to use for the next 3 or 4 years of my life, right? That's what I want. I don't want to have to spend 10 minutes answering their questions and figuring all these other things out and wasting time potentially on something that I'm not even interested in using once I see the interface, right? And that's exactly what happened with some of these other apps, which is what annoyed me so much. It was just wasting my time. This Daystamp app, I think when you look at this home screen, it's nothing to write home about. It's not the end all be all. Plus, the blaring thing you can see at the bottom is there's a big ad banner across the bottom. So it tells me right away, okay, this is obviously the free version of the app. And in order to get rid of the banners, you're going to have to pay for it. So automatically, I kind of see that. And that's a choice that certain developers make. And I get it. Like, they got to pay their bills somehow. But it's a shame because it really is a well-designed app and a nice app, and it gets a little bit ruined by the stupid ad banners at the bottom. And what you'll see is after you create your first couple habits, you're actually going to have to watch a video ad for 30 seconds in order to add a new habit. So my take on that is,
I forgive you.
Because once you add the habits, you get it in there. You don't have to watch any more of those video ads. So it's like, okay, fine. They get to make a little bit of money, pennies or whatever, but people get to create more habits. You know, like I was able to create on the free version on my phone. Right now, you're looking at this preview on my iPad because I wanted to show you what a clean start screen looks like, not with all my habits in it already. But it's still good in a way. I know people are annoyed by banners and ads. I am too. But I'm also annoyed when I install an app and they only give you 2 habits for free. Or the standard seems to be 3, right? And 3 is fine. That's enough for you to decide whether you want to stick with the app or not if you like the experience. But it's not enough to use a free app permanently. And this, on the other hand, if you put up with watching a few video ads to add your habits. But in theory, if you're on a tight budget and whatever, like you could use this app for the long haul with 7, 8, 9, whatever habits, and you could do it for free, you know? Because at the end of the day, most all of these apps you do have to pay for, you know? And like I said, when we get to some of these other apps, like a lot of them you have to pay a subscription for. And we all know, like, you don't want to be paying for your Netflix and your Amazon Prime and your cable TV and your Fubo and your YouTube TV and all these subscriptions. They all add up, you know, and inflation and times are tough. So you got to, you know, for some of you, like starting the new year, you want to think more about your budget, right? So if you can latch onto a great app that you use for the long haul and you don't have to pay a penny to keep using it, you can't undervalue that. That's something, right? So this is our onboarding experience. You know, just a quick little statement: start small, think long term. You know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That is the mantra for all of these apps. You know, how do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. And that's what these habits are all about. It's like you just need to get started, right? Just get started. So anyway, another thing is that I don't like it when during the onboarding process, a lot of these apps like bombard you with these long lists of ideas for habits and ideas. You could do this habit, you could do that habit. I'm like, for me, like if you're going to be a mature, responsible adult, you should have some clarity as to who you are, what you're all about. You should be coming to the habits app with some idea of what you want your habits to be, you know? There should be some level of self-reflection on your life, right? So to me, it's like Inception, right? An idea will stick if it comes from within you, but if it's coming from outside of you, from somebody else, those ideas don't tend to stick. It's the same thing with habits. You should come up with the habits within yourself. You need to be passionate about it, because no matter what app you use, the other app or this one or some other one, it's not going to matter if the habit itself doesn't matter to you. You know, there has to be some meaning and purpose behind it. Getting more sleep, working out, you know, why, right? Are you just doing it because, oh, I guess I should do some good habits, it's a new year? Like, no, this is why people don't stick with their habits. They start with a New Year's resolution and it just doesn't go anywhere because they weren't really passionate about it in the first place. So whether it's 3 habits, whether it's 10, whatever, figure out your habits and your system for yourself first, and then try out some of these apps to see if the app experience, the interface, the features, if that all works for you, right? So interface is pretty simple. As you can see, there's this little slidey scale here, which takes you back for the past 30 days. So you can quickly do that to navigate back in time. And I also like the fact that, again, remember how I said I was using this app for a while and I noticed a lot of little details that were just nice, and it caused me to really appreciate this app. So let's say you're scrolling here, you're clicking on December 1st, December 3rd, December 29th. See this little arrow button up here next to this word all here? You tap that and it automatically jumps you back to today, the current day. And it immediately goes away, you know? So I love contextual stuff like that, contextual design, where things only show up where and when you need them to, and they can kind of go away when you don't need them to, right? Anyway, we have the current day. You have this little all button here, which didn't really make sense to me at first because I tapped it and it said Thursday versus all. It didn't make sense at first, and I thought, maybe I'm going to take a point away for that. But I'll show you what that actually means later and how it's actually a nicely designed little tidbit. But right now, it doesn't make sense, but I'll get to that later. So you have this little bar graph here, which of course you would think would be your data, your analytics. We haven't even created any habits yet, so of course there's nothing there. You have your ... over here, which is all your settings. And this is really what we want right here. So this is your onboarding experience. This is you just getting started. So now we're moving on to number 2, which is habit creation and editing, right? So you hit the plus button, brings up this simple overlay. You just tap in, let's say, like we did the other app, let's say cardio, right? And I'll change the color to something more athletic like green. You can kind of just scroll down here a little bit. You can specify your notifications. So with this app, you can be notified on certain days, or every day. And you can specify what time. So let's say I want to turn all these off, no notifications. We just go work out whenever we can during the day, right? By default, it's just the default group. But if you tap that, it brings up a list of your groups, which we haven't created any. You hit the plus, and let's say we want to put it in our fitness category, right? Type fitness, hit save, and here we go with the ads. So I think in order to create a group, hit the X on the top right. So it plays an ad, I guess, if every time you want to create a group. So, and of course there's a button there for premium, which would do away with all of the banners and stuff, of course. But we'll come back to the premium at the end. I'm going to walk you through the benefits of paying for the premium versus just doing the free version. But right now you're getting the full experience of the free app, because if you want to use it for free, this is what you're going to deal with. It's like a little bit of an advertisement here and there, and the ad banner at the bottom. So I want you to get the real feeling for what it is. I'm not just going to show you the paid version that I already paid for, and you might not want to pay for the paid version. So anyway, we just created this fitness group. So now I tap fitness. So now we've assigned our cardio habit, no notifications. We've assigned it to this group, fitness. So what's our goal? So you tap none. Right now, none just basically is like every day. Weekly, let's say you want to do it 3-4 times a week, 5, 6, whatever many days a week, right? And you could also send it to be like how many times a month you want to do or how many times a year you want to do. But obviously, as you can see, those are only included with the premium. So for now, we'll just say, keep it like a regular habit. Interval is none, click save. Okay, and the last setting we have here is display on. So you can basically click and tap like which days you want the habit to appear. If you want to take the weekends off, you don't want it to do, then you would just highlight every other day except for Saturday and Sunday. We'll leave that off for now, and we'll click save on our habit. And there we go. So we have our first habit. So if you want to edit the habit, very simply, you just tap on the bar anywhere here, this green bar, and it brings you to this stat page. This is sort of what I call sort of like the individual habit homepage, right? Up here on the top right, you have a little edit icon. You tap that, it brings up your options here of edit, archive, or delete. And there's the beautiful word, archive. So you tap archive, it gives you a little warning. Would you like to archive the activity? It will be, I don't know if English is the first language of the developer, but it's kind of funny to see how things are phrased sometimes in this app. It will be disappeared on the list, but you are able to restore on settings. So you can click OK. And now look, we've got no habits on our home screen. But if we go to click the top right, go to general settings, then you see under here under activities, there's archived, tap that, and there's our cardio habit. So you tap that, it says, would you like to restore cardio? And you click OK. Bam! Just like that, our cardio habit is back. So there you go. This is how you create a habit. This is how you edit a habit. And that's how you archive a habit. And that's how you restore a habit from the archive. As we're still in this kind of habit creation, I'm going to speed through here and create a few more habits. Oh, and by the way, notice how I clicked create new habit and now it's pink. I like this, how if I click the X, if I don't create that one, if I click the plus again, now it's this other color, pink. If I click the plus again, now this is blue. So I like that. Again, these are the little details where it's like, it doesn't just start out with the first color every time. It's like, it just randomly picks a different color every time you try to create a new habit. I'm like, okay, cool. That's nice little touch. So let's say, because I do a daily selfie every day. By the way, you can click, they have all these different color palettes. There are, of course, some of them that are premium, but just so you know, there are other colors beyond these, but these are the basic starter colors. And even on the free plan, you can still get a few more colors there. So anyway, let's do daily selfie, no notifications. We're not gonna group it. The goal is basically every day. So click save. Let's create one more habit. Let's say, let's do, see already. So we've created 2 habits. I guess for the third one, you see the message that pops up here. Interstitial guide. An interstitial will be displayed before adding more activities for the support and development of Daystamp. We appreciate your understanding. Thank you. So you click OK, and you have to put up with an ad. Okay, so you watch an ad, annoying, whatever. That one was actually a pretty short one. You're able to skip it. But so let's go ahead and add in no alcohol. And let's make it red, because this is like a negative. The reason why I made this habit red is I wanted to show you that this is technically a negative habit. This is the kind of habit you want to quit, not start. This app does not have a negative habit option, but the next app we're going to go through actually does have a negative habit option. You know, because habits can either be you want to start something or you want to stop doing something.
I said you wanna be starting something. Got to be starting something.
So with this one, just like with ARTLIST, there's only positive habits. So for me, the positive habit is no alcohol. So the negative is a positive, if that makes sense. So notice we have these up top. These are basically ungrouped habits. And we have cardio, which shows up in the fitness group that we created, right? I think with the free version, you can create as many groups as you want. You might have to watch an ad banner here and there, but it is what it is. Let's add weights. Oh, we have to watch one more ad. And I'm going to color it another shade of green here, a lighter shade. I'm going to say weights. Now the group, I'm going to set it to fitness. Goal is the same every day. Click save. So now notice, so by default, it's showing up down below in the fitness group. So that's why I wanted to show you that's sort of the value of groups. In theory, if you wanted to separate your list of all your habits, you could name a group like evening. You could name your group daytime. You could name your group morning. And then that way you could kind of sort them. So your morning habits would be grouped together. You could do that. So you can only create one group with the free plan. Okay, so there you go. So I can't even demo it to show you how you might work it around, you know. Okay, really quick. Remember how up here before I said there's that little all button and you tap on it and it would just switch to the day of the week, Thursday. So it didn't really do anything. Click on all. So now I want to circle back now that we've created a few habits and it's part of the editing process, but I kind of want to show you how that button actually does do something. But in order for it to do anything, you have to adjust the display on setting for each habit. So let's go to cardio, for example. Tap on cardio, click up here on the top right to edit it. So you scroll down. Now, see how it says none here under display on at the bottom? You tap that, and let's say we only want to display this habit on the weekends. So like Saturday and Sunday. So let's say we're not interested in doing cardio during the week at all. We only want to go running on the weekends, let's say. So you click save. Notice here it actually was smart enough to say, okay, Saturday and Sunday, the weekends, right? So now it's just going to display on the weekends. So you click save, go back here. So notice, we said for the cardio to only show up on the weekends, right? But I'm tapping through Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, all these days. It's still showing up. But notice what happens, like we're on Tuesday here. Now if I tap this all button up here, now it says Tuesday, but notice cardio's disappeared, right? So basically, if you leave it on all, it's always going to display all of your habits. But if you set certain habits to only show up on certain days, by tapping that button, that'll toggle on that feature. So it will only show the habits on the days where you specified them to show up. So basically, if you specified a habit to only show up on certain days, and you see it showing up on all the days anyways, and you're annoyed by that, it's like, oh, what is this, some bug? It's a problem. It's not a bug. It's not a problem. You just have to go here and toggle on this all to just be the specific day. It honors your display on settings. So notice now, cardio is gone Monday. Then I go to Sunday, there it is. I go to Saturday, there it is. Go to Friday, it's gone again. So I didn't realize that at first when I was using this app, so I thought it was a bug until I realized later when I added the display on settings in a habit. Then I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. So again, now I have all the habits displaying every day. I tap that little button, goes back to today. So anyway, so we've gone through the onboarding experience, the creating habits, the editing habits, the archiving habits, and also these little special features with the display on settings and all that. So let's get into the visceral daily experience, right? The creation of habits, the editing of habits, I'm walking you through that, the onboarding process. That's all fine, well, and good. That's to get started. But once you get going and you've been using whichever app you're going to use for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, in general, you're not going to care anymore about creating more habits. You're not going to care about editing your habits. What's really going to matter to you is the day-to-day, like swiping the habits, completing your habits day by day. Statistics, looking back, that's the bonus. That's sort of the fun part of it for me. But like to see your progress, to see how you're coming along, that's great. But the visceral daily experience, to me, this is sort of what makes or break an app. Like if an app can have all the bells and whistles and all of these features and everything, but if you don't enjoy the experience of completing your habits every day, I just don't think it's going to stick. And everybody's going to have their own little preferences about what they like. For me, like I just think back to when I used to write to-do lists on a piece of paper, and I would literally write the list and I'd take my pencil or whatever and I just scratch it out left to right, scratch it out. So, that's like hardwired into me for that to be a very satisfying feeling of completion, right? So when some of these habits apps don't have that swipe left to right feeling, like for me, it's like, it leaves me lacking a little bit. So anyway, so let's get into what the experience is like here. So basically with Daystamp, you have two methods for completing a task. You can either tap the circle on the left, which I'll do that for no alcohol. There you go. Plays a very basic sound, which I think is the same sound that is for Apple when you are installing a new app from the App Store. So, I like the sound. Nothing unique about it, of course, but it is what it is. The second way you can complete a habit for the day is to swipe from right to left. So I'm going to do that for selfie. So see, I'm swiping here, swipe it right to left. So it kind of jumps back as you swipe it from right to left. That little check mark shows up on the right. So it's like, I swiped it all the way left, but it did this little hop and go back. So I'm like, okay, for me, like I said, I really like swiping left to right, and there's no option to customize the direction of the swipe. So if I were to use this app long term, I would just have to be okay with swiping right to left or tapping that little completion button. And what I do like about this compared with some of the other apps is, well, what about when you want to undo? Like, let's say I said no alcohol. I thought, oh, I'm not going to drink alcohol today. But turns out later in the evening, I actually do go have a drink with a friend. And then I'm like, oh, well, I need to come back here and undo the alcohol habit, right? I like that it's as simple as just untapping that check mark, and it plays a different sound effect. Habit list doesn't have a sound effect for undoing it. I don't think so, but listen. That's the sound for completing. That's the sound for undoing. And I think to undo it, yeah. So you can swipe right to left to complete a task. You can also swipe right to left to undo it. So that is your visceral daily experience with Daystamp. You have two options, either tap the circle or swipe right to left. Those are your two options. It is what it is, but as much as I love swiping left to right, as I kind of walk you through the rest of these features, and you decide for yourself which things are deal breakers, which things you can live without. But that is the visceral daily experience. So moving along to the overall design, and this is where I get into form and function. Like, it's definitely aesthetically pleasing. The typography is good. The design is pretty tight. It's a nice mix of font sizes working together. So you get senses of like hierarchy and sizing, the design, the elements, like it's all very clean and neat. Like I like it. It's a good design. It's tight design. Obviously having that ad banner at the bottom kind of ruins the design, but that's kind of beyond the point. And literally, like if you pay for the app, and I'll get into the pricing in a little bit, but if you pay for the app, the ad banner goes away, and then you're left with just this beautiful app and it's great design. That's briefly covering form, but in terms of function, like it's pretty intuitive to move around within the app. Like I said, at first I was confused by that all button next to the current date, the top left, but later I realized that will change the display if you set an individual habit to only display on certain days. And once you know that, it's really not a design flaw at all. So let's actually go back and just fill in some data. So let's say on December 12th. Oh, and also real quick, notice in terms of the experience of the day-to-day, with habit list, when you swipe to habit left to right, it automatically jumped it down to the bottom. And I like that because it just like, why do I want to look at that? The habits that I've already completed for the day. Once I swipe it complete, like I just want to get it out of the way, move it down to the bottom. That I like. With this, you set the order. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, it's a nice little thing, but you can tap and long press on a habit, like no alcohol, and you can drag it. So you don't have to go into a different menu and go to a list of habits to rearrange the order. You can literally drag habits right here on the home screen, which is actually understated, like pretty nice that you can do that. Because there's other apps, it even feels like a physical object that you can drag it, but you can't. They don't let you. And I'm like, that's really frustrating. But I like the fact you can do that here. And I just thought I would call that out as another bonus. Now notice, if I take weights, I cannot drag it. Wait a minute. So let's do a little experiment here, actually. So if I take weights, I can actually drag it out of fitness into the undisclosed group. And if I go to the 12th, it's still showing up in the same spot. Now, what I wonder is, if I tap into the weights habit and go to edit, I wonder, will it have removed it from the group? Aha! That's really cool. So now, see the group here? It took it out of the fitness group. So it's back in the default group. Just by us moving it here. So not only, I was thinking just now that it wouldn't let you move weights out of this because it's locked into this fitness group. So I would have thought that you can only rearrange things within a group. But turns out if you want to remove it from the group, you can. Just as easy as that. Wow, that's pretty cool. Again, with this app, there's just a bunch of little things that I've just been discovering along the way that are just well designed. They're well thought out. And I appreciate those little details, you know? It's just, this is to me what makes an app just like a really good experience overall. So now that I've just kind of scribbled in some data here, right? So just kind of randomly. So remember now, we can only go back to December 28th here, right? Or what is that, November? November 28th. So if I want to go back to see earlier in November, how do I do it, right? Well, there's this little calendar button at the bottom. And the reason why I didn't want to show you this before is we had no habits in it, so there was no data. But notice, you got this nice little calendar. By the way, this arrow here on the top left, you might think that by tapping that, it'll take you left, like back to November, but don't do that. That takes you back to your main home screen here. So if you want to go to November, you literally just have to swipe your finger in the calendar area. That'll take you back to November, back to October, you know, and you can keep swiping like this back as far as you want to go, which is pretty nice actually. And not only that, but there's this slider at the bottom, which is even easier. So you can literally just scroll way back with this and it'll update the calendar up top. So there we go, just like that, March 2022. We're already back in January 2020. Wow, what a moment that was, right? Before all hell broke loose.
Before the dark times. Before the...
And if I tap this little button at the... See, we've gone so far back in time, January 2020. What if I want to get back to today? Notice this little happy arrow here at bottom right showed up again. Tap that, jumps us right back to today. See? And then the arrow goes away. Love that. Love that. See? Once you let it load in here for a second, the title goes away, that little arrow shows up. Those are the little design details. Attention to detail, I just respect. I think a lot of people don't appreciate these things. As a designer, I appreciate these things. When I see things that are well thought out and well designed, I'm like, kudos to you, good job. So anyway, this is our calendar view. Obviously you can see like the little colored dots. Those are the habits that we completed that day. And to me, this is just really beautiful, really elegant. And if you tap on an individual day, you'll see down below a list of the specific habits that were completed that day. So let's say we're on December 12th. So there's actually a couple cool little functionality things you can do here with this calendar that if you're just looking at it, you might not realize you can do it, but I'm going to show you. So notice how on, let's say the 11th here, I've only completed the selfie, but let's say, oh wait, I didn't drink alcohol that day. What's the quickest way to add it? Well, all you do is you long press on the 11th in the day, that day. Hold it down. Then it brings up a list of all your habits. And notice it's only bringing up the 3 that you haven't already checked, right? Because you did the daily selfie, so it's not showing up in this list. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. So I just hit the little circle next to no alcohol. Makes a cool little animation in the right color. Red goes away. Really slick. Plays the sound. Now the red dot's there. It's down below. Just like that. So you can literally, like on long press here on the 20th, you can just add in individual habits this way and they disappear. It's just beautiful. They show up in the right color, play the little sound. It's great. So just wanted to let you know you can do that from this calendar view, and also these individual habits down below in this list here: no alcohol, daily selfie, and weights. So if I click on daily selfie here, then it goes to the calendar specifically for this habit. So this is going back to what I referred to earlier as the habit homepage, right? But last time we were here, we didn't actually do anything with down below here in the calendar. And this is where I'll take this moment to kind of walk you through the habit homepage here. So as you can see, you have this long streak here of taking a selfie 11th through the 16th, but you can easily add more days that you completed for the selfie simply by tapping highlights it. So basically I did a selfie that day. So if I tap the 7th, highlight it, tap it again, 7th and 8th, notice how it extends automatically into that little streak. If I tap the 9th over here, tap it again, it extends it. So just letting you know that functionality is there too. And just like with the other sections, you can swipe left and right to go through this little mini calendar to go back in time. Let's say I did a selfie on November 16th. I tap that, tap it again to fill it. Great. Also, and I'll just touch on this really quickly, you can leave a note. So let's say November 16th was my first selfie, let's say. So say I'll write my very first selfie. Then I'll tap out of it, hit this little arrow to go down. And that's it. So my note is recorded. And there's also this nice little feature here, a little space. They put a little button here for this little time insert. And this is dynamic. So basically right now, me recording this, it's 2:51 p.m. on Thursday. So it takes the time 2:51. Just by pressing that little time button, it inserts it in there. Again, nice little detail. I hit this little down arrow, bam, just like that. So this is the kind of thing where if you want to keep track of what time you're doing your habits, you can leave a little note here. I mean, you could literally just go in here. Let's say you don't want to leave a note. You can go in here and just press the time button, bam. Like I did this daily selfie that day at 2:52 p.m. Done. Just letting you know that it's there. And this was a thought as I was going through all these habits apps. I thought it would be really cool if you could track time of your habits completed, because I would love to see that data graphed out. Imagine like all your various habits, you could see them on a chart and be like, oh, wow, I tend to do this habit at this time of day. Like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing it then. Or like, oh, remember this period of time where I kept working out in the morning and early morning? Yeah. So as it is right now, you don't get to see time recorded as data of when you mark the habits, which is fine. It's not a deal breaker by any means. Most all of these habits work this way. I was just saying, like, thinking next level, like if you really want to get granular about all your habits and your data, like I think that would be really cool if you could record what time. Of course, then it would also matter what time you're logging your habit. right? A lot of times with habit lists for the last 3 years, I might go work out in the morning, but I don't necessarily mark it in the habit list app that I worked out until whenever I get around to it in the evening or whatever. So, you know what I'm saying? Like the time that I input it into the app or scratch it off the list in the app is not necessarily the same time as when I do the thing. But if that functionality was in these apps, I bet you I would start doing that. Like literally I go for a run, as soon as I'm done, I swipe it off the app right there. It records the time. That's valuable, meaningful data. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't exist, this functionality, this kind of data recording with time in any of the apps I've checked out to review today. But wouldn't that be nice? I think that would be nice. But anyway, moving along. So I've showed you notes. You can also tap here on the photos button, but it's pretty cool. You can just add photos. They just line up there. I think they let you add 3 photos per entry. So they would basically just display there in a row where that little photo icon is. Again, just nice little touches. I've never been one to add notes to my habits or add timestamps or add photos associated with it. Then it becomes a little bit more of like a journaling sort of thing. But I like how they give you the option to do that here if you want to. And I think that's how a lot of these things should be. And as I'm kind of going through some of these apps, especially the next one where we go really in depth with it, they kind of bombard you a little bit with a lot of features and some things I'm not interested in, but they still kind of hit me over the head with. And that can be kind of bothersome. But I think this app, Daystamp, really does a nice job of just subtly, quietly offering you all of these features and functionality without hitting you over the head with it. And again, to me, that's just another testament to like good design, you know, a nice, clean presentation. They're giving you a lot without beating you over the head with it, you know? And to me, that's why I really recommend this app, because it's kind of like the more time you spend with it, the more you're just like, yeah, oh, that's nice. Oh, I can do that too. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh yeah, nice. And, you know, just, I don't know. I just had a really enjoyable experience using this app. And, you know, if you decide to use it, let me know. Let me know. Like, leave a comment down below, send me a message on Twitter or whatever. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what, you know, your responses, what people's responses are to these apps that I'm presenting, if there are certain things that also resonate with you, or other features that you'd like to see in the Habits apps that aren't there. Just like I mentioned, the thing about being able to timestamp, you know, and keep that as data. But yeah, let's continue here. So scrolling down on this page, you see your data and stats specifically for this one particular habit, right? Here's the trends, how much you did a selfie in December versus November and all that. Your basic statistics, like this week, this month, this year, total, done the selfie 12 times this year. So this thing right here, I have to comment on this. Daily performance, right? Again, I've gone through so many Habits apps to review for you guys today. So like, and I told you so many of them were like such garbage, and it made me angry how bad some of these were. And then I come across something like this where I'm like, I have not seen this in any other of the Habits apps that I've been looking over for the last couple weeks. This is the only time I've seen this. And when I saw it, I was immediately like, wait a minute, this is not rocket science, but it's really cool, fun, like visual data that can be meaningful. And why isn't anybody else doing this? Like, why are no other Habits apps doing this? And as you see, daily performance, it shows for this particular habit, you can kind of see how it's weighted it by size. So what this tells me is like, oh, okay. So I tend to do my selfie a lot on Thursdays. Like for some reason, I'm really good with doing my selfies on Thursdays. On Sundays, for some reason, I never take a selfie on Sunday. You know, like I always forget. I'm like, maybe I need to pay more attention to that on Sunday. Now, this is kind of not the right example of taking a selfie. But what if it's like a more important habit for you and you start to see these kind of patterns, you know, where you're like, oh, I notice I'm not doing these things toward the end of the week. I tend to do my habits toward the first part of the week. So clearly, like, I'm getting tired out. What could I change in my lifestyle that would allow me to be more consistent with my habits, to hit the days where I'm missing? Or maybe it's by intention, you know, that you only want to work out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. To me, that would be kind of cool to see, like, oh yeah, my data, it shows I only work out on it's like a little bit I worked out on Tuesdays and Mondays, but I never worked out on Thursdays and Fridays and blah, blah, blah. But I just had to call that out because it just is like such a beautiful little elegant depiction of it. And it's not meaningless data, and none of the apps really fully do what I'm about to describe, which is like, it would really take things to a whole nother level if you could start making correlations, right? So if you could start putting things together, like your sleep, like sleep could literally be a habit. It could literally be like, you could check it off the list. Like, did I sleep 7 hours of sleep last night? And you just wake up in the morning, you check it off your list. Like, yep, I slept 7 hours last night. Then you would have all this data, which, by the way, if you can look in your sleep app, the default health app in Apple, and you can keep track of your sleep patterns there. But it tends to just stay in that app, in that world. But what if you can start to make correlations between, certain habits being done and how much sleep you're getting? If you can plot them all on the same graph, you could literally see like, oh, wait a minute. When I sleep at least 8 hours, I tend to get all my habits done. If you see them all plotted on a graph, or like, oh, wait, every time I sleep less than 5 hours, well, I tend to be kind of a zombie the next day and all my habits drop off because I don't do any of them, But then you could see that plotted on the graph with everything on it. And then you're like, wait, but at like 6-7 hours, that's where I start to get my habits done. So then you can start to be like, oh, maybe 6 hours is really the magic number for me. Like, that's how much sleep I need to get. Like, if I get anything less than 6, I totally drop off in my performance. And not only that, but we could get into like mood trackers. And the next app that I'm going to walk you through actually has a mood tracker. It's a new feature they added in. And that's a whole nother area of discussion, the value of mood trackers. And again, if you can track your sleep data with your habits being completed and your mood, and if you could plot these things all together, you could start to make some really powerful correlations and really get a hold of your life and become aware of what's really going on, because this is how lives get shaped. Years and years go by, but really it comes down to the daily habits and the daily patterns and how these things accumulate over time. Like, this is the power of habits. It's not like you go to the gym and you do curls one day and you got huge biceps. No, you do it as a habit consistently. You check back 6 months later, you look at your data and you're like, oh wait, yeah, nice biceps. Yeah, well, I've been doing the curls every day. Like, I skip these days and been doing it for 6 months. So it's like, it's great. So anyway, I totally geek out and I love all of this data and all of this shit. So there's real power in it, and if there's nothing else, like, hopefully you guys will really love, if you're looking for a habits app, any of these apps that I'm showing you today. I don't know, to me, this stuff is just really important. If habits are not a part of your life and having a good habit app is not part of your life, I think having a good habit app can actually help you make habits a part of your life. If you find the right app, if the experience is enjoyable, if you do it consistently, and this is how you can slowly transform your life. So anyway, enough of me preaching about it. So, the data at the bottom here, you see like your best streak and the streak you're currently on. So that kind of wraps up your data, your statistics for an individual habit. And if you click this little clock icon at the bottom, it brings up this list. And as far as I know, so it goes back to Tuesday, December 5th. Oh, I see. So there's a note here. Timeline for the last 30 days. So with the free app, it only goes back 30 days, but it says you can access all data with premium. So I'm assuming when you buy the premium version, this list would go all the way back. Oh, and real quick, just next to trends here, there is a more button here. So this shows you like per month, how much you've been doing your selfies or whatever per month, but there's also this little more button here. And you can zoom out, I guess, for the whole year. So it's not just recently, but it's for the whole year. And you can tap on these individually to see the exact number total for each month. So again, I haven't paid for the premium version yet. It does say you can access all data with premium. So as good as this is on the free version, just realize, like, if you go ahead and pay for it, like, it can only get better from here, Anyway, so I've walked you through the general calendar here at the bottom. I've walked you through the individual habit pages, the calendars, the notes, the photos, the daily performance, which I love, all this data, how to edit, how to archive, all that stuff, the visceral experience of like swiping and completing habits, how you can organize them, drag them around. So let's change gears for a second. Let's talk really quick about interface options and how much you can customize this. I've already showed you how you can choose colors for your habits. But if you click up here on the top right, let's go to the general settings, which we haven't gone here yet. This is where you get to see like which things you can kind of customize. Oh, this is interesting. So another little detail I figured out here is, see how it says here, display on. So display on is basically a feature that has to do with that little all button, where it shows the day of the week at the top. So not only will it show up on the days that you said to only show up on those days, but it also applies to this functionality here as well. So when display on is on, that setting, if I tap this here to toggle this on, remove check-in, right? I click settings, close that. So notice what happens. So let's look at like Friday, December 1st, right? Notice how I've completed the selfie and the weights, right? They're still visible there. But that's because I don't have that display on feature turned on. It's set to all. But notice up here, if I tap the all button, it goes to the quote unquote display on feature. When I tap that, notice they disappear. So if I leave that feature turned on, the display on, that's what my experience will be like through the app. So for example, I go to Saturday, and let's say I did not drink alcohol that day. I tap the circle. It does bring up this little pop-up message telling me that's what's happening. This is how I originally figured this out, learned what was going on. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. You tap that button to see all the habits when it says all, but then you can kind of custom display habits depending on these settings that you set, as long as it's toggled to that sort of display on mode. So hopefully that makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me. So obviously you don't want this pop-up to keep coming up every time. So once you learn this, just click don't show again. So now, because I have that display on feature on Saturday, let's say I did cardio, tap cardio, it's gone. So that's better. Really declutters it, especially if you have a long list of habits. I only have a few here, so it doesn't really matter for it to just be grayed out. But even though I don't think they give you the option for those completed habits to slide to the bottom, the way ARTLIST does it automatically, which I like. This similarly does that though, because once you complete a habit, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't really need to see it anymore. I already did it. So yeah, but notice all you have to do if you're like, wait a minute, I got to undo that habit. What was that habit? I don't remember what I did. All you do is you tap up here, this button that says Saturday, it goes back to all. Now you see all your habits. Then you're like, okay, now I can uncheck alcohol, done. But if I tap it again, now I complete alcohol for Saturday, December 2nd. I complete selfie. And I complete the weights. I'll swipe that one. There it is. So you finally make it to that blank screen. Again, this kind of goes back to the visceral experience. There is some modification here, but that's why I'm talking about it here in this section of interface options and audiovisual. Like these are the customization options you have. Obviously, there's a lot more customization here with this app than with ARTLIST. I'm a huge fan of customization. I'm all about like, look, what works for me might not necessarily work for you. So like, whatever you like, you can do it. Like me personally, I wish they could give you an option to swipe from left to right instead of right to left. Currently, that's not an option. I might reach out to the developer and ask for it. Like maybe they can make it happen. So, but this is where I like an app like this. The fact that they're already thinking about adding more options to things and letting you customize things, that's a really good sign. One, they have a vested interest in the app and making it better, and they're passionate about it. There's that. But also, there's a spirit of they're not like, kind of like Apple in a lot of ways. A lot of times Apple is like, we're just going to make it our way. And it is a good way that Apple makes things, but a lot of times they don't leave it open for customization because they're just like, well, our way is the best, so just do it our way. And that's why for a lot of us, we have to go find third-party apps and stuff because we want to have a custom experience, and Apple doesn't really like to do that so much. So when I come across an app like this, and the next one I'm going to show you, like it's like, that's cool. I respect like when they allow for customization so that I can make things work for me my way, you can make things work for you your way. So, that's cool. I'm going to untap this remove check-in, And I'm curious what happens when you do goal achieved. So let's say selfie. Let's say my goal is to take, click none, weekly. My goal is to do 3 selfies a week. Yeah, 3 times a week. I click save. Okay, so this week I have not done any selfies according to this. So click this to go to the current day. So let's say so I do the selfie once. Tuesday, I do the selfie. Wednesday, I do the selfie. Ah, so I've met my goal. By the way, that's really tacky. The confetti. Don't get me started on confetti.
Don't get me started. Don't even get me started.
There's actually a habits app called Confetti, and I just find it really tacky. I wish this wasn't here, but okay, fine, whatever. Now, because of the setting we just hit, I think when I tap Thursday, the selfie won't even show up anymore. Yep. Because we've reached our goal already for the week, so why do we need to show it up again? We've 1 to 3 a week, we've hit 3. But, of course, if I tap Thursday here and I go to all, it'll show up. So that's what that option means. If I tap Thursday, now it doesn't show up. So just so you know, this is a thorough walkthrough I'm giving you here, folks. Figuring this out as I go too. So now you know, remove check-in means when you swipe it, you complete it, it disappears. And when your goal is achieved for the week or for the month or whatever it is, after that point, it will no longer show up in your day-to-day list. So that's kind of nice. This whole section's about customization, right? So starting your calendar week on Sunday. If you want to start it on Monday or whatever day of the week you can do that. So appearance is just light mode or dark mode. I actually want to show off the light mode because I did make a note earlier that I actually thought the light mode, as much as I like the dark mode, the light mode actually looked pretty good. So going back to our home screen, like this is the light mode. Pretty nice. Nice and clean. And when something's grayed out, it feels better because it feels more like it's gone away. So I like that. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Again, get rid of this ad banner at the bottom. The app is, this is a really nice, I look, the crisp black up top. It'd be tough for me to decide between light mode or dark mode because I like both, but I'm gonna go back to dark mode. I like both, but so I guess I could put it on system, but I always leave my phone on dark mode. So it is what it is. And I didn't even realize this. You can adjust the font. Wow. So I didn't realize this. They let you preview it there. That's what those buttons are up top. They're not actually clickable. That's just a preview. So the system. All right. Most of these fonts look kind of crappy, but Helvetica though. Again, I haven't seen this option on any of the other apps too, really. All right. So in addition to the font, you can actually adjust the sound effects when you swipe to complete an app or tap to complete it. So your options are no sound, of course, or nice. Yeah, successful is just basically the App Store download sound. Definite is pretty nice. Intuition. I think definite is kind of the most satisfying, so we'll go with definite. So yeah, those are your main customization options. So now if I tap cardio, listen. Yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, I like it. Oh, one little idea I had, by the way. It could be a nice little setting as well. Like the thing is like if you have a bunch of habits, like right now we only have 4, but if you had like 20 habits or something, or 15 habits or something, and you wanted to group them, rather than having to individually change the color of each app by tapping cardio, going here, click edit, and then choosing your color, it would be a really nice detail if you could assign a color to the group, like fitness, and any habit that's listed under that group would automatically inherit that color. You know what I'm saying? So if I made the fitness group orange, any habit that I add to that group would automatically become orange. That in itself could be a time saver. Again, if you're dealing with a lot of habits and you want to visibly kind of group them together, that would be a nice feature. It's not there, but yeah, that would be nice. One thing I just remembered here as I was clicking on this is cool too. We've been through, like, you can click on an individual habit to see the calendar for that habit. You can click on the calendar button at the footer to see all of your habits together. But there's also this option here. See how it says fitness here in the middle? These 3 dots next to fitness. If you tap that, it gives you these options of a calendar, timeline, photos, Reddit. So like, for example, if we click calendar, this is a calendar of just for that group. So this is just your fitness habits together in one calendar. Again, really nice, really nice. So if you really, again, if you have like 20 habits, 15 habits, maybe you're not doing every habit every day, it can start to become a lot to manage. And maybe certain habits are really unrelated and you wanted to see things together. So it's nice. It's nice to be able to group things. This is, of course, like just the timeline view of any of your completed habits within the specific group that we created, fitness. But I like it. I guess photos would show you any of the photos you have associated with any of the habits within that group. And you can actually click edit here to go straight into editing the name of the group. I guess that's all you can do. But again, if groups could be assigned a color, like, look, this is me pie in the sky. The app is already great, and I'm sitting here telling you how it could be even better. You know, I'm just getting greedy at this point. But anyway, but I like that you can do a calendar view per group. That's pretty nice. All right, so like I said, you have control over your habits, everything we've discussed. Like if we go to the cardio habit here, so that whole week in November, I did cardio, right? But let's say we're editing this habit here, right? But I don't want, instead of editing it, I want to archive it just to show you that this works. Would you like to archive the activity? It will be disappeared. Click OK. So now it's gone. It no longer shows up. So, but you can go here to click on general settings. Then under here, under activities, it says archived. Tap cardio. Would you like to restore it? Click OK. Bam, that's it. Now we go back. There's our cardio. And if you tap it, go back to November, as you can see, full week of that I just entered in. So it's beautiful. It retains, it works. This is archiving, like that's how it should work. You know, you can retire a habit and reactivate it at any point in time. And in the meantime, it doesn't have to clutter up your basic homepage here. If you are interested in the premium, they actually kind of write out, you go here to settings, you tap on premium. They actually list out everything here that is included with the premium. So unlimited archiving, backup and restore, timeline. Of course, the ads are gone, the banner's gone, no more of that. Unlimited groups, calendar events integration. I'm not sure how that would work. If it would like sync with your Google Calendar somehow. I'd be curious how that works. Family sharing, which actually that could be great. Like if you buy the app for yourself, you could share it with family members in your family plan if you have that for Apple. So I rarely ever do that, but good to know. Oh, skip feature. So I guess that would allow you to skip a day or two or whatever and still keep your streak, quote unquote, alive. But anyway, as you can see at the bottom, there's a button there, $29.99 for lifetime. Apparently there's not even an option to pay like per month. You basically, your only option is to pay one time, which I totally appreciate. I totally respect because, you know, like I recommend it. You got to be thinking about like, if you're going to pick an app, you like it, you want to build habits now and forevermore, why pay $60, $70, $80, $100, $200, $300, $400 over the years? Like just pay one time for the app that you want to use and stick with it. Okay, that, my friends, was Daystamp. I pretty much covered every feature and nuance of this app, so consider yourself well informed. If you do decide to use this app to track your habits in 2024 and beyond, let me know. Leave a comment down below. Share your experience about either this app or if you found something else that works even better for you. Let me know. I'm curious. If you have any questions about anything I covered today, as always, feel free to comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you've enjoyed this video today, learning everything there is to know about Daystamp, well, click like on this video. And if you're interested in furthering your good habits and boosting your overall productivity and creativity, subscribe to the channel today. We're going to cover so much and have a great time doing so.
We are going to have so much fun together, you fucking nerd.
All right, folks, that's all for now. See you in the next video.
Subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. What to watch next?